What's happening, good people? Out here. Just wanted to hang out, man. I was feeling social. I have these moments as an introvert where I feel chatty. It's like my son would want to come over and chat right now. What's up, buddy? Come on, man. Y'all been quiet this whole time. What do you need?
So it's okay for you to get some more peanut cereal?
No, it's not okay. Hey, MJ. um. Anyway, like I was saying, the missus is. That's not like I was saying. The missus is upstairs. She's sleeping. We had a late night last night. She has late nights every night, but let me not put her business out in the street. What's up, Black Power? Uh, yeah. So I had a couple things going on, man, that I just wanted to snap and trap about. The first thing being that I finally ordered my chainsaw. Hey, I finally ordered my chainsaw. It's actually right here behind me. I got an Oregon one. Um, and I was gonna get a what's the people Black and Decker, I believe. That had been in my cart for the longest. This one is highly rated. It also is like a 15 amp. It's a corded one. I didn't want gas or anything like that. What's up, subject to change? I haven't read your message yet. Um, so I'm ready to cut down some trees. Guys, I'm gonna make both of y'all get down and go in the living room if y'all don't get it together. I don't want to chat. Take care of what needs to be taken care of as if daddy wasn't here. So we're gonna cut some trees down. We have 4 trees that we're getting rid of. They're little like joints. We actually started to kind of trim them up because they had been dead in some capacity throughout the mass of the tree. And I want them out of the way. Uh, there's also a lot of vines growing up through the fence that we have to trim down, or it just becomes a mess that attracts bugs and all that jazz. Dell went to work on it one summer, something crazy. I don't man, she would get out there getting it popping. Um, I've gone at it quite a few summers. But I'm gonna be honest. I just want a flamethrower. Just give me a flamethrower. I'll burn that whole fence, all the stuff off of it. I don't like this interweaving, and I'm just not a fan. I want to do it as effectively as possible, as thoughtfully as possible. She just applies sheer will to get the stuff going. So it came yesterday. I got some oil for it as well, and it was I got biodegradable oil. Because why not? I just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't do any damage to the chainsaw. I still have to read the instruction booklet to make sure that they don't mention anything. But I had read on the information of the oil that it's just a lubricant. It doesn't do anything other than just be there so that the chainsaw can slide through the wood that it's cutting effectively. So why not get biodegradable? Why not? Why not? Hey, Kimber Jack. So Jack. All right, let me see what y'all snapping and trapping about. I know Nathan was saying, thanks for the goal labs. You're welcome, sir. I bought a 100-watt HUSD solar panel for it. Works great. And it was a good price on the solar panel, right? I think you said it was like maybe what, $75 or something like that. Um, which is a good look. I personally don't like throwing 100 watts at a 60-watt capable device anymore. But I bought a 100-watt panel for my Bodens, and it maxed out at 45 watts when I first got started. And the main logic behind that is I wanted to be able to put as much power as possible into that power station to get it up to its 45-watt solar input, so that I didn't have to worry about angling it perfectly. Or if I laid it flat, I would get as much power as possible. So that was my logic. So it's not bad logic. Um, let's see here. just getting onto my computer to take care of bills and such. What? And then you go live or you trying to describe it. I'm just trying to make it enjoyable. Just something to listen to in the background, right? Get them bills paid. Congratulations. I just bought one like 2 weeks ago. Oh, nice. You got a Works. I was looking at the Works kind of casually. Works is a pretty good brand, a good budget friendly brand. I was thinking about it. But I wanted something with a little more power. And I think the Works was like 12 amps. And this one was like 16. So I just went with the higher joint. But I ain't mad at Works. I ain't mad at Works at all. I've had a number of chainsaws living in a rural area. They're very helpful. I probably failed to fall. Falling a tree. That's such a weird phrase to me. Like fell a tree. I don't. My brain just doesn't get how people say and use the terminology as it relates to trees. I fell a tree. Sounds so weird to me. Yes. Some cereal. Okay. Hey, Ivan, I need you to pause it and come help Adele get some cereal. Thanks, buddy. I don't want to chat, guys. Electric chainsaw, slightly less power, but still a great value. Yeah, and the reason why I may have spoken on this before, the reason why I just bought the chainsaw is because I was thinking about renting one because we don't need a chainsaw. We just need to cut down those trees. We actually cut down another smaller tree. If you look at some of my older videos, I had like a little tree in my yard. A little small poison ivy was growing up through it in the last like 2 or 3 years. We just took a handsaw to it and cut it down. And no doubt, we could probably take handsaws to these trees, but it would be a lot. She doesn't need to pray. It's just a continuation of her cereal. Um, but Home Depot charged so much for the rental. It was like half the price of just buying one. So I was just like, I'll just buy one. It was like $50 for. It was like it may have been like $40 for 4 hours, and then like $50 for a day. And it's just like, man, I got the Oregon joint and it was $80. It was $81. When I put it in my cart, it was like 90. So because it dropped that $9, I went ahead and just moved forward with it because I had been kind of waiting. And the Black and Decker one that I was thinking about getting was like 100 for the longest, like 103. So save a good $20. I used some Amazon points towards it, brought it down to 60 after 87. So yeah. And then I hope I can return it. I didn't look at the return policy. I hope I can return it if I have an issue with it. I have a 12 volt, 100 amp hour lithium battery. Nice. Pretty cool. Bleach mixed with water and some for the stuff growing up through the fence. Sharfar made 1,000 watt inverter. Nice. Pretty cool. I got a few trees. Just gotta keep it up. Okay, I got you. Got it to keep up the yard. Yeah, it's good to have a joint on deck. That's for sure. Because when you hit them thicker branches, it gets right through it. You ain't got to worry about struggling with that. Hey, I didn't think you was gonna be down. I didn't need you to be down or anything. Let's be clear. I got it under control. Barely. Says I need. Interesting. What you mean? I feel like you're kind of parsing these out. I'm getting a comment by comment. What's up, Eddie T? A minute. Okay. So, what's your question? Do you have a question, Jack? I see you're commenting on kind of your makeup. You talk about a 1,000 watt inverter. Let's branch into that. I was actually looking at a 2,000 watt Renogy inverter. Someone was selling one for $300. I think they said they paid like $400. It's brand new, unused. But when I went to Amazon, the dip was like $299. I'm just like, and no disrespect to the person because Renogy is notorious for that. I was just talking with JC about this. JC DIY is his YouTube channel. And I was I was explaining to him like the phrase tax in the black community just means to be charged more than you should. So I was like, Renergy be taxing, man. And they do. So he probably paid 400 for it. And now it's 300 on Amazon. Actually, it dropped again to like 240. So whenever I look at buying something on the marketplace, even if it's brand new, I kind of start with half off because it's brand new, unused. I get that. I think that there's value there, but I still ain't buy it from the manufacturer. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm taking a risk, and I can't just go to them typically and be like, "Yeah, I got this joint. Can you help me out?" They want proof of purchase, so it might as well be used. It just doesn't have the actual use on it. That's my logic. I'm not saying I'm right, but I start there. And if it's something I'm really interested in, then I'll kind of work my way up. Maybe if I really want it, but if not, yeah, I'll just pass. I don't need the inverter, but what I'm struggling with is should I get one just to have it? Because I have three um, LifePro batteries. I have two Dr. Prepares, and I have one Amper Time. And I have been in touch with Power Queen. Another company reached out. They did like some judo backflips. Because what happens is these companies reach out to me, and then they go in. I think they look at my channel, and they may look at like numbers of videos that are non-products. Because typically in the YouTube space, your videos get more views because they're product related. Because people want the information on the product. I get it. My channel is not necessarily just about products. My channel is about like real life with solar. Um, for like because I love solar, you know what I mean? So I there wasn't a channel that was just about solar in and of itself, like real life with it. It was always, and I've talked about this many times, it was always like, the RV niche or the tiny home niche or the van niche or the homestead niche. And then they had like a few videos about solar, like how to build it. And I was like, I don't care about that. I like the idea of using solar power. I think that that's dope. It's fun. It saves you some coins. So my channel is not just about products. It's about real life, like lifestyle with solar. Um, so I think sometimes the vendors, the manufacturers, they'll look at some of the numbers on my videos and they won't see a whole lot of views. And I only have 7,000 subs, you know what I mean? So typically what happens is, at least what logic has been for a while, is you get about 10% exposure. That's not necessarily a fact these days because you get impressions all over YouTube. Impressions is just when YouTube shows your thumbnail and title to somebody and it comes across their view. That could be people in the solar niche, that could be people who are in the homesteading niche in terms of viewers. But you typically can kind of count on like about 10%. And again, that could be old logic. I haven't heard that logic in a long time, especially since now we have impressions, the impressions metric on the back end, little back end YouTube stuff. So then they'll try to like judo kickflip, like, yeah, maybe we send it to you and you send it back. And I'm like, I'm not going for that. Actually, Zendor wanted to do that. And every now and then I consider taking them up on that offer. But I never feel pressed. I don't like shipping stuff, period. So I don't want to get something and then have to pack it up and send it back. That just feels weird. So I may do it just for the sake of creating a relationship with them because they have some really cool products. The one product that I was actually interested in was the Super Bass M, that quiet one. I think that one was dope, but they were saying that they're kind of like that one's not necessarily their focus anymore. They're focusing on their bigger Super Bass V stuff, which is fine, which is why you don't see a lot of videos for the Super Bass M. But that's Sharfarme, that's her people. Zendor. Oh, look who made it. What's happening, man? That's what's up. That's what's up. I hope you have a nice, productive way at work, my guy. All right, all right, all right. Hopefully my thoughts came full circle on that. I'm not sure. Oh, the Renogy dip, the Renogy inverter. So it's 240 right now. I would be like, man, listen, I know Renogy taxed you, but I'm not paying that amount. I'll start at like 125 maybe. But the problem I have there is, do I need it? I have 4 power stations that have 2,000-watt inverters, but I also have those 3 batteries. And I went into the rant about Power Queen and some other companies because, I mean, as the channel continues to grow, I will undoubtedly get offered more batteries to talk about on the channel. So why not have a super capable inverter to be able to use? Now, here's the thing about that 2,000, just to get into some numbers, nitty gritty a little bit. That 2,000-watt inverter, what I have learned is that they'll say, I may have talked about this before, my apologies. They will say that you need at least like 170 amp hours. And what that kind of breaks down to is like a 12, 13, 4 volt battery. In order to get the amount of watts that the inverter is rated at, which is 2000, you need volts times amps. So you need a minimum of about 170 amp hours. So you need like 2 batteries in parallel or one 170 amp hour battery to be able to get the full 2000 watts. What I thought was, when I watched a YouTuber, they were explaining the idea of um, needing a certain capacity battery to pair it up with an inverter. And that got me kind of skittish because I've always wanted to look into inverters, but it made me think I needed to absolutely get a 1,000-watt inverter because I only intend to hook up one inverter to one battery. And I don't plan on putting batteries in parallel. I mean, if, a power situation happens where I need to, maximize all the stuff that I have, then I may put some batteries in parallel to get more capacity, not watts. uh, so if I got that Renogy inverter, which is rated for 2,000 watts, I would only be able to pull about 1,200 watts for it. And JC made a good point because I would say most people think about terms of longevity, but I think about in terms of power output, not how long the battery will last. Because something in my house that needs a little over 1,200 watts, it won't need it for the whole hour. That's like my microwave, my fridge, stuff like that. It spikes and then it goes back down. My typical load of everything in my house, outside of my stove and my dryer, is about 150 watts. And you think about an air conditioner, that's a whole different beast in and of itself. But we will only run something like that to knock the heat off the house, to make it a little cool. So I don't necessarily need longevity. I need power. And if I could get, at a 1C rate output out of a 2,000-watt inverter, because it's hooked up to one battery, it doesn't have the ability to go to 2,000 watts. I'm fine with 1,200 watts. I hope that makes sense. The battery, the 100 amp hour capacity on the BMS, and forgive me if I'm butchering this, it only has so much capacity or draw it can pull. Actually, some batteries even they can allow you to pull out more power instantaneous, but not duration wise. It's kind of like 60 miles versus 60 miles for the whole hour. So you can pull maybe 1,200 watts, and at a 1C rate on a 12-volt 100 amp hour battery, you can pull 1,200 watts for the hour if it's rated for that. Some batteries can be rated for like a 0.5C rate, which is about half the capacity of the watt hours, which is, well, of the watts, which can be about 600 watts. Anywho, right now I'm limited. If I wanted to use my battery to power something, many of you have seen my short where I was powering my kids' gaming session with the Dr. Prepare, maybe the ampere time or the light time with my little Best Tech inverter. The max that goes is 300 watts. So it would be nice to have a 2,000 watt inverter. It would be especially nice to get a 2,000 watt new inverter for half off, but I'm still debating it, still debating it. All right. Hey, Sheila and everyone. It's been a long time since I caught a live chat. Nice. Glad to see you. I'm looking at an inverter 3,000 watts. I'm going to try a small wind generator. That's interesting. Can you elaborate on that a little more? What would the wind generator? Oh, okay. You would use that to a battery and then to the inverter. That'd be interesting. Satellite is kind of messing around with wind and stuff like that. The idea of it, I don't think he got like a turbine yet. What's up, Sleeper? Corey, what's happening? Okay, Jack is back. So, do I need 600 watts of solar to keep my 12 volt, 100 amp hour charge to use my 1000 watt inverter? I'm unsure how to keep the LiPo battery charged. Unsure of solar panels I need to get for my emergency battery plan. Okay, yeah. The interesting thing here with this question is, for the most part, wait, what kind of charge controller are you going to use? You mentioned an inverter, you mentioned the battery. You need something to take the power from the solar panel to make it usable by the battery. Um, because for the most part, as long as you live within the parameters of your charge controller, you could put a 100 watt panel on it. But if your emergency plan is to be able to have 400 watts, 500 watts coming in from your solar panel array, then you need to kind of plan accordingly with how much solar you're going to get and what kind of charge controller you're going to get. Now, I am no expert in this. I learned stuff along the way. My particular focus is power stations, but I have batteries. I have a very simple MPPT charge controller, and I have a very simple Best Tech 12 volt inverter. So yeah, that's something to think about. Because with a solar array, I take 20% off the top. So if you have a 600 watt solar array, I imagine you're going to get 120 watts less than that, which comes out to be what, 480. So if you needed 400 watts of solar input, 600 watts is fine. That's a good look. Yeah, you just need a charge controller. Depending on how you're going to hook those panels together, you need a charge controller that can handle the volts and the amps of how you're going to configure those panels. And most charge controllers have pretty decent amp limits and they have pretty decent volt limits. I would dare to say much better, unless you go really cheap, much better than power stations do. I've never heard of them. Mm-mm-mm. I heard carbon-based batteries are coming out soon too. Yeah, I don't get into the future stuff. I don't have time for that. Got mine through Amazon 280. Yeah, the Giandel one that Will recommends is about $280. Gandel, Giandel, I believe. Do you have solar charge controllers? If yes, why not? Something more to play with. You talking to me or you talking about Jack? Hey, Delgado. Good to see you. 1000 watts, 100 amp hours, so on. But with lithium, you can get more watts output continuous. True that. I don't even know. I guess I was about to say I don't even know why people would buy non-lithium batteries, but it's price. But Will has done quite a few videos, at least two, about how it's just better to get LiPo for longevity and capacity wise. Because if you go anything else, you have to do that 50% depth of discharge. Yeah, it's a lower barrier of entry, which I get. I understand 100%. It actually appealed to my sensibilities early in the game, which is I don't want to store power. I just want to get the power and produce it. And those little cheap golf cart batteries or whatever would allow you to do that, but they wouldn't allow you to store much. But if you got 400 watts coming in and you're using 200 watts, that's a good time if you don't have to spend however much you need to spend on lithium iron phosphate batteries. But they're much cheaper now, so I think it's a non-issue to just spend but it depends on your situation. If you're off grid and you need a certain amount of capacity, but not if you need a certain amount of power, but not a certain amount of capacity, then those non-lithium ion batteries could work. They could work. Thomas, what's happening? Have you used a step DC converter from PowerWorks to put a battery on a small power station? No, I'm not into the buck and boost converters. I don't like the bare wires and wiring stuff up. That's why I'm into power stations. This stuff is all self-contained. Um, And I'm into mobility, which is another reason why I'm into power stations. I like to be able to move stuff around. I also have small kids. I don't have a house that's kind of conducive to having like a work table with stuff on it. And I'm definitely not screwing anything into a wall and all that jazz because, again, I like options and mobility. So those little buck and boost converters are very unappealing to me. The reason why I got the PowerWorks, we're going to do some screen sharing on this session. The reason why I got the PowerWorks MPPT charge controller is because it had all that stuff built in. Let's go ahead and get this. Share screen. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Where is it? This is one of them. Okay, they have two of them. Let's just go ahead and pop that up. So you can see this is my type of hype. The MC4 connectors are already on here. I have this one right here. I was looking at this one, but for the more capacity, I went this route. You can hook these up directly to batteries and directly to solar. Done. You got your own little solar power system right there. If you got a 12 volt, if you have 12-volt devices, you can hook them up directly to the battery and you good money. You just need an inverter to do AC. $60 to get your own little DIY situation going. It's max is 300 watts. Crazy amp limit though. I think it goes up to like 50 volts and like 24 amps. Yes, 20 to 50 volts open circuit and then 24 amps. That's bananas. But once you get over about 15 amps, I've always been told you need to start putting in inline fuses so your panels don't explode. I'm joking. I don't know what they do. I guess they catch on fire per Jason Noy. Dum, 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 dum. Yep, instant power. Now, what I have considered, Will Prowse. I call him Solo Will to my wife, so she makes the connection. Solo Will did a video some time ago about batteryless solar, where he took a solar panel, put it on a buck converter, and dropped it down to a 12-volt voltage where he didn't need a battery or a charge controller, I believe. Yeah, he didn't need a charge control. The charge control is just for the battery itself. So he went panel to buck converter to the buck is the one that drops it. The boost is the one that boosts it down to usable voltage to just run 12-volt appliances. I still think that that's dope. Mama. Come out of the area. Saya, you're going to get sent upstairs. So that's one of the very few times I would entertain kind of wiring something. But then that means I have to take a perfectly good solar panel within reason and strip the MC4s off of it to wire it directly to the buck converter. Or I could go, which is what I would ideally want to do, MC4, solar panel, MC4, and the MC4 connector to bare wire, because I have one or two of those laying around just because I've had panels break and stuff like that. And then bare wire to converter, inverter, whatever. And then I'd go that route. What?
Can you give me some milk?
No, I'm not getting up to get milk, man.
Why?
I don't want to. I feel like eat the cereal you have. It's way past cereal time anyway. So if you want some more cereal, you can get some, but I'm not getting up to get milk.
Can you help me with my milk?
Hey, Ivan, I need you to pause and come help your brother. Thank you. Let's see. Mouse stopped working. Freaking Bluetooth. How does solar help my electric bill? It was the easy answer. My current liquor bill is 20. What? I don't know what to do with that. Electric bill, not liquor. Okay. Your autocorrect got the best of you. I'm like, you're saving money with solar to get the sauce. Is that what we talking about here? So my current electric bill is $22. So I guess it felt pretty good. What would it normally be? Okay, right. I'm not necessarily concerned about watt hours either. I want my needs met immediately at the time that I need it and require it. Yeah, that kind of. I got you. I got you. Yeah, you need that power, that instant, whatever. Of It's like I want to come up with a term for, but it's just simply watts is that instantaneous power, and watt hours is how long that power can last. My mind goes capacity versus capability, watt hours versus actual watts instant. Capacity, capability. I'm trying to remember that. My manual Frigidaire window air conditioner uses just under 400 watts unless it's very hot. The thermostat kicks on and off. Nice. Yeah, we have a couple 5,000 BTU joints around here. Planning on I need to find an affordable way to mount it. Oh, for your wind stuff. I gotcha. Set tight tech adventures, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Love your common sense approach to solar. Great information. I appreciate that, Fortune SWF. Okay, buy used panels. You'll be able to afford more power for your money if you don't need light panels. That's a fact. Me and JC were talking about that this morning a little bit. I talk about this with Setite all the time. I need the most efficient panels possible because my space is really limited. If you have space, then yeah, go get you some 250 watts for like $100. You could get them. They've been as cheap as like $60 or $50, I believe. Maybe one time when Will made the video, like the Trina Solar 250s, but they are as big as my Renogy 320. So I'm not a fan, but I do want to talk about that in a little bit. My panel kind of situation when I'm mulling over. You're welcome, Jack. Where do we find these used panels? I never see nor find any in my area. There's Santan Solar is the most popular site. They're based out of Arizona and Savannah, Georgia. They have two locations. Sometimes panels are in Savannah, sometimes panels are in Arizona, and whatever. What I have found, I'm in Western PA. I would assume from Arizona, shipping is typically $250, and I'm gonna go through some math on that in a second when we start talking about panels. I'm liking my three 100 amp hour gel batteries. They're beefy. Yeah, I imagine they're heavy, right? Aren't those everything that's not lithium ion is really heavy, or is like silt, lead acid, gel? Are they have varying weights to them? $200 each is hard to beat. It's not hard to beat. You can beat that with LiFo. LiFo batteries are $300. Some of the cheapest ones are $300. So you can beat that, sir. But I feel you. Those batteries were not always $300. They are now. They've been about 470, 400, so on and so forth for some time. So used panels are easy to find on Facebook. Facts, depending on where you live. Some people overcharge, but you can often find deals over a few months. That's what's up. You gotta kind of always look. Craigslist as well is a good resource. Yeah. And you may have other like people may have other like little marketplaces that they do. You will have the Facebook marketplace overall, which is your best bet with that, along with Craigslist. But I've seen panels in OfferUp, which is I guess it's a web app now as well, but it started out as a mobile app. They actually combined with another app. It was OfferUp and Let Go, I believe. So yeah, that's where you find used panels. I must be looking in the wrong places. A simple 10 amp charge controller that works with 100-watt solar panels. John Daniels video title. Okay, that's for John, Jack, somebody. Oh, I don't have solar panels yet, so I'm looking at hybrid wind solar. Are you in a situation where just an easy, simple approach is can you put your wind joint high enough? That's what it all comes down to, I believe. But don't get me to talking about something I'm not an expert on. Set an alert on Facebook Marketplace. Good stuff disappears in hours. I use a Greenworks 40 volt, 2.5 amp chainsaw. I imagine that's wired. That's battery. I didn't want to go battery. They're expensive, and like I said, we don't need a chainsaw, so I wasn't gonna go battery on that. Spend $299, $199 for Greenworks Ego. I have a Ego lawnmower, and I have a Ryobi string trimmer. I don't even want to mention Ryobi while Setai is around because he loves Ryobi. Ryobi is his jam, as the my Caucasian brothers and sisters say. I think my base fees. What are you talking about? That's a good point as well. So let's delve into that. Santana is good if you have $1,000 to spend. Otherwise, the shipping isn't worth it. It's not worth it compared to if you have $1,000 to spend, but it can be worth it if you're used to buying panels off of Amazon at $1 a watt, 77 cents a watt, 76 cents a watt. It's definitely, yeah, we'd have to math, and I do plan to math today. So let's jump into this whole Santan situation. So right here, this is Santan Solar. They're solar panels. What I like to do, because I prefer, I have a preference for new panels, and I have a preference for larger panels. So I'll just go over to solar panels and hit the little, you know what I mean? And then I'll hit 400 plus watts because I want 400 watts. I don't want 250. I don't want, I would kind of get into 300s, but not really, because then I just have more Renogees. And the Renogees are fine. But I guess ever since I saw the EcoFlow come out with the 400 watt panels and pretty much the Renegee form factor, I was kind of like, man, I want 400 watts since it's possible. Now, what I have to watch for personally is sales to get a 400 watt, a 395 watt for the kind of price I want to pay for it. I want to get as close to 50 cents a watt as possible, which I've kind of seen like 62 cents a watt, which is still good. Excuse me, because I paid $1 a watt for panels, so at least once for the Renegee, not the Renegee, the Rich Solar. I paid like 170 for an HUST 190, 160, something like that. I got like 3 of those. I've gotten assistance in buying those, so I didn't have to pay fully for them. Just like a viewer looked out for me and helped the brother out. I appreciate that greatly. They shall remain nameless. So I paid $1 a watt for panels. I paid like about just once. I feel like I typically lived in all of my purchases around the 80 cents to 77 cents because I've got a couple HQSTs over the years. I've sold them locally. I have one left, and I've got them for like about $75. $82. I got a Renegee for $65, which is the cheapest I've ever seen that 100 watt Renegee. Hey guys, you're gonna sit down and watch the movie, or y'all can go upstairs and play. All right. Okay. I'm talking to you. Okay. All right. I need to hear it. I need to make sure you understand what I'm saying. So back to the lecture at hand. So I go directly to 400s. I'm not personally into bifacials because they're typically heavier. I'm not saying I'm against them, but I'm not leaning towards buying 5 bifacial panels because these panels for me will replace. I wonder if I could do this. Does that work? Nope, it does not. It doth not. It doth thracky. What is it? Okay, shift F1. Shift F1, shift 2. That would be shift 8. That don't make no sense. 7, 5, 4. Okay, cool. So shift 1. I don't want bifacial panels because this situation of me trying to spend about $1,000 plus the $250 shipping, $260 shipping, that would be like a very comprehensive upgrade for me. 2 of those 400-watt panels will replace my 800-watt array. Another one of those 400-watt panels will replace my 400-watt 100 panel array, and maybe the next one will replace my all powers, which typically is charging these days my EB120. So I really, I only need like 3 panels, because then in that scenario, okay, we got the 400-watt array, the 800-watt array is being replaced by 2, the 400-watt array is being replaced by 1, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll take the 320, push the 320 to replace the all powers, and then put the other 400-watt array in the place of where the 320 is, which goes into my Alcatel. So I want to have panels that are as small as possible and as light as possible so that they can be moved. Now, I don't plan on moving the 2. They'll probably be in parallel, which I could move, but I want to be able to shift these. If not for just managing these panels throughout the day, I want to be able to easily move them for the seasons, because laying flat is typically what I do throughout the summer. I mean, I angle them in some instances, but then winter comes, they need to be angled a little higher. And then with me being about to cut these trees down, they'll probably have to go up in that little area during the winter. I don't think I'm going to have many panels up there during the summer. I'm not sure. When I buy whatever panels I buy, then it'll become more real as it relates to what I actually do. It's too loud, Ivan. Ivan, it's too loud. It's too loud. So I don't want bifacials. They're going to be heavier. And I like the idea of bifacials. If I could get like 1 bifacial locally, that would be cool. I would entertain that, but I don't want 4 of them. That just seems like a bit much for me in my mind. So they don't have enough of an offering for me to find a good deal. Basically, this is the most interesting one, this Solar Ever 410, along with this 455. Now, the 455, I believe is it perfection? No, it's not. The 455 is 83 inches by 40. Now, it's a slight variation in terms of square inches, but I prefer the 410 because the 410 is a little more manageable in its size. It's a little bit wider, but it's 67 inches by 45. I'd much rather that 67 inch because I'm used to that with my Renogy 320. Let's go to its specs. I think it's like 66 by 40. I think their little power station is interesting. It doesn't like completely suck. It's a very interesting power station, and it was on sale for like $7.99 recently, which wasn't bad. Speaking of Renogy got these monsters, these 450s and these 550s. I'll get to that in a second. Let's look at these specs. Look at that's the chick Darbin. She had a good series on the Nissan Leaf. She bought a EV, so that's her. She makes interesting content. Where are my specs? I'm trying to find this weight here. Okay, yeah, 40 pounds, 66 inches by 40. I'm used to this. This is lovely for me. I feel like that Renogy, I can move it very easily. I mean, it has a little heft to it. These panels will be a little heavier, but I like this 410 because it's close to what I'm used to. It's a little bit wider, but I could work with that. And that's interesting. It has a maximum fuse rating of 20 amps, which is great, kinda. The idea of it is great because if I put two 10 amp panels in parallel, then I don't have to fuse them basically. The 20 amps is fine. And then with the Duran having a 20 amp input limit, that would kind of be perfect. I could put that in parallel, have two panels go into it, and not have to worry about the 60 volts limit. I could go series as well, which is ideal, but series treats it as one panel, and doing parallel gives me two individual solar kind of arrays, so to speak, that I could move and shake. So if I don't want to move both, or maybe I move one to be in the sun longer and one is in the sun still, but it's going to get shade on it eventually, then my second panel is good. And also the benefit of going parallel is, okay, where you at? Also, the benefit of going parallel is you have, let's just do this. You have two situations where wires can be independent, whereas like series, everything has to be connected and kind of linear. So if you have like a series connection, it's going to branch out to the two panels, and then your wire that goes into your power station is split between those two panels. Whereas like a situation where you have parallel, you can have the source split the parallel situation, and you have two sets of panels that can go to those two separate power stations, and they can go, one could go that way, one could go that way, whatever you want. Or you can even take the two panels and then parallel split off of that panel. So you can have one wire coming into a panel and then the parallel connection going to another panel. So you have one long cable and then one short cable to extend the parallel connection. I talked about that a little bit in my 300 watt array of the 200 watt panel plus the 100 watt panel. Hey, Sage, get another one. There's three of those little things. Get another one. You got to solve your problem, man. So right now, this right here is my front runner. That would be the most interesting to me. This particular panel has an all black back, but this price is not, it doesn't tickle my fancy. Such an interesting phrase. So let's work this out a little bit. We have, I'm gonna go a little wider. Did you know if you went wider, you could get the history on your calculator? I figured that out like in the last like year or two. I was like, who knew? I did not know that. And also, did you know that if you go back over to your calculator and right click, you can open another calculator? I didn't know that either the last like year or two. Cool stuff. All right, so you have 269. With my budget, that's about 4 panels. So we're gonna do 4 times 269. I may be doing this math wrong. Dude, what are you doing? 4 times 269 plus my shipping, let's just call that 260. That's $1,300. And I always divide by my number of panels because I want to know my price per panel. So we're going to do 4 panels. That's $334 a panel for a 410 watt panel. That's not lovely to me. I want to get around $200 per panel, $250 per panel, $235. So I'm waiting for these panels to kind of go on sale. And when they go on sale, that'll give me my level set as far as like how much I desire to spend. Because then once something goes on sale, you have officially told me that I should always be able to get that at that price. So I will wait to get that at that price unless I find something a little more compelling. But let's keep going with the maths here. So that's $334 per panel. The next thing we do is we divide the 334 by the watt capacity, which is 410. And that's going to give you your price per watt. So that's 81 cents a watt. This is what I've been doing for like the last 3 weeks, calculating things. I don't want to pay 81 cents a watt. 81 cents a watt is okay, but I don't want to pay it. I want to be around like the 60 whatever. So if we do that again, let's say, let's just go bare, like $200 a panel. In that situation, I will probably entertain getting 5. So that gets us 2 hours, 1,000 plus the 250. Let's do 260, just whatever. That's $1,260 divided by 5, which gives you your cost per panel. That's 252. I could live with that. And then you divide that by 410, and that gives you 61 cents a watt. Now, I'd like to believe I'm doing that math right, but I went to New Orleans public school, so don't judge me. Let's see if y'all got any comments on that. Let's go back here. Let's pop my face up a little bit. It's a chainsaw oil. That chainsaw right here. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Wait, let me see this recent comment from Sete. They do that sidewalk sale virtually. Check in December and January for crazy deals. Rare for me to see it live these days. Greetings. What's up, Val? Good to see you, sir. All right, we talked about the Greenworks, space fees, Santan, solar is better than wind because you can put it on the ground unless you get like a 30-foot tower for like hundreds of dollars or less, for like $100 or less, and live in a very windy area. Wind is good. It's a good supplement to solar. When I say $1,000, it's because I'm trying to target 50 cents a watt or better. I agree. If spending less than 1,000, I can usually find a few local panels on Facebook for 50 cents. Fair enough. Wow, I almost forgot to thumbs up this live. I'll ask out with YouTube. I appreciate that, Sharp Arm. Yeah, thumbs up the video. More importantly, thumbs up the videos that y'all watch, the normal videos. Hit the thumbs up on those and the live. If that's your thing. If it's not, it's okay. I forgot to hit that thumb. Let's see. When I do the Santan math, it's always based on used panels. Yeah, I can't go used because the efficiency sucks. Excuse me. They do this. Okay, we got that. Does that make sense? You look at a situation where you're dealing with, a Renogy 100 watt, a Renogy 200 watt for $200, $100, $180. For the sake of conversation, let me do some math there. Let's get some real prices here. Let's do the HQST 190. See what that's hitting for. 170. This is what drew me into this situation in the first place. I'm not the biggest fan of 100 watt panels, but look, you can get 2 panels here for $70 a pop, which is a good look. I mean, 200 watts. I prefer single panels. So we got 170. That is, we just do 170 divided by 190 to get our cost. That's 89 cents a watt. So, you know what I mean? If you go the route of spending $334 or whatever this came out to be, $334, you get a 410 watt panel. That includes shipping, which is, I deduce, Setai may have even said it. The reason why these little 100 watt, 200 watt panels cost as much as they do because shipping is baked into the price. So it's all kind of the same thing. 6 one way, half a dozen another, unless you are smart about getting something on sale, you're smart about getting something used locally, or you're smart about buying used panels from these people and shipping. Let's delve down that path a little bit. Like, if you, let's say, I think Setai said he paid about $77 a panel for his 250s, but he didn't include shipping because I don't know, he's weird. I kid the Setai. So let's see here. You would do what, $70? Yeah, it's unfair to do that because there's no shipping involved, but let's do it anyway. And then you would divide that by 250. but that's not shipped. You'd have to drive up and get those. That's 28 cents a watt. So if you could drive to Santana and get it popping, you could get some 250-watt panels. I wish I could drive somewhere and get some panels. I feel, you know what I mean? My brain, I'm gonna blame racism. Saya, take it easy, buddy. You gotta add shipping. You know what I mean? Actually, let's go. Let's do 10 panels at $70. So you $700, and then divided by 10. Oh no. We're at 700. Let's just do 250 shipping. Then you divide by 10. It's $95 a panel, and then you do $95 divided by 250, and then your cost per watt is 38 cents. That's pretty good. Now that's a used panel. I don't mind used panels. I'll if I could find some 400-watt. So let's go back to the page. It's 270-ish for shipping a pallet. Yeah, I think 20 panels is the max per pallet. I think I went above 12 or something, and the price started to go up. But maybe you're right. I'm not sure. If you would be interested, I would appreciate you going into Santan and doing that to see what it is. Bean sells panels too. Yeah, I've been to Bean's site. I'm always looking for ways to plug his situation. I went to his site and I just wasn't into any of the panels that he had. They were either like 250s, 270s, 290s, or if they were huge, they were if they were high wattage, they were huge. And I need the most efficient thing possible. And also, I think they were like super heavy, or they may have had really high voltages. That's another thing you have to watch for with these used panels. You could mess around and get a 60-volt panel, and you can't do too much with that in series. We have the AC200Ps, the EcoFlow Delta Pros, and so on and so forth. Typically, what we're looking at is about 40 volts a panel. So you can kind of work with that. But once you start hitting like 60 volts, I think I've seen as high as like a 90-volt sun power panel. I'm just like, sheesh. What you gonna do with that? It'd be like 90 volts at like 2 amps, 3 amps. Which I get why they do that, because the amps is what costs you the money with the cabling. But man, I haven't been to his site lately. Bean, his what's his channel name? I know the site's called Bean Brothers. I forget what his channel name is. It's crazy to me. Why am I tripping? My live is still called Solar Topic Pending. Bean Energy, that's what it is. Grab this joint. We'll just paste it right here. So if you go to his site, his web, his YouTube channel, I'm sure he has links to his business page for buying panels. I know Diva was thinking about going to grab some panels for him because she's in Texas. He's in Texas. I actually very early on talked with him about trying to get some panels like shipped and looking at pricing and stuff like that. I may have to rehab that conversation with him, and maybe I'll let him know kind of what I'm in the market for, because he buys the stuff out of boatload to sell them. And maybe he can just let me know when he comes across something that kind of fits my situation, which is I want like close to 400 watts, and I'm looking for as small as possible, like that 60, 70-inch panel at about 40 inches wide. But then that's just me, right? There are other situations here where you could go solar panels, let's say 300 to 400. And I've looked at some 300-watt panels because they will work really good for the situation that I have with my Renogy 320. And they're all, you find some that are not quite, like check out this new Canadian Solar 380-watt panel for $190, right? That's a good look. And it's brand new. That's another thing you run into here. You may not have enough to justify buying them. They'll have like 2 panels or 1 panel. So let's look at this stuff. So it's 80 by 40. I could live with 80 by 40. The open circuit voltage is 50 volts. So you could probably only do about 2 of those in series if you got like a 150 volt power station. I think the AC 200p is like 145. I don't think it's 150. And then I live in an area where it gets cold and sunny, so that the voltages could spike a little bit. Or is it amps? I think it's the volts. I don't know. I don't remember at the moment. It's 50 pounds. That's about 10 pounds heavier, which should still be fine. But this is kind of where I'm at with it. And with this situation, I can't get, it goes back to this math down here. Which one is it? 89, 61. Yeah, this is kind of the math I would be looking at, because it's 200 times 5. I get 5 panels just because I might as well get as many as I can kind of get up to 1,000. Hey, guys, I'm not going to warn you again. If the noise continues, I'm sending you upstairs. Saya and Jojo, do you understand me? Thank you. So that's where I'm at. I would love to be able to get some new panels. I'm really like itching for it overall, to have like a more simpler stuff, a more simpler setup. Especially with my wife threatening to kick me off of places. I thought about doing, she's around now. I thought about doing one of those little videos where it's like, my wife asked me for a divorce today, and she's like, I did not. I asked you to get your panels off the porch. It's like same day. Ah, man, jeez, OP. Okay, what else we got here? Oh,
Daddy?
Yes.
And now I watch Tag on the past.
Sure.
Okay.
So I've been messing around with this lately. This is, what is it? The Power Smart. This company sent this to me. What I can say about this at first glance is it's really basic but capable. I mean, when it all comes down to it, I've said this before, we can be picky about power stations, as well we should. But I think our pickiness can kind of like, what's the word? Subside depending on the price of the power station. And I'm not saying that this is a great price or anything. I haven't even taken that into account. I don't really take into account price a lot of times with these videos, because I know in the grand scheme of things will not always cost what they cost. I buy used phones all the time. I don't necessarily have to get the latest and the greatest. I am a patient person overall. I research the heck out of stuff. So I go at it from the stance of just informing your perspective on the power station itself. Kind of like evergreen. If you watch it today, you may feel a certain way about it. But if you watch this video that I'll make, 12 months from now, it could be a completely different situation. And I just want to enlighten you about what it has, what's going on, and all that jazz, so you can make an informed decision relative to the price, but not because of the price. What it reminds me of is To Go Power. They may have even changed their name, but it's a cooler device. I kind of compare it to Jackery, because I think it's kind of the area that it lives in. It's not LiPo, it's lithium ion. It charges via 8mm, 2 outlets, 60 watts of PD, not bi-directional. It's just a very basic but capable power station. I think it does like 100 watts of solar. I have to test that. I'm gonna put like a parallel joint on it. One of the main things that I like about this is that it's wireless charging, and it has like the flashlight on the side, but it also has a diffuse joint on the handle. I've always liked that feature in the To Go power station. So it's an interesting thing. Now, I don't bring that up just to talk about this particular power station. They also sent me a gas generator, and I'm gonna go to that in a second. Let's see here. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Power Smart Power Station. Let's do a little DuckDuckGo search because I don't use Google. I will use Startpage, which is like Google results without all the Google snooping on you. Dang, I searched for Power Smart and it's showing me Duran Ener stuff. That is interesting. Now, which one was it? I think it's this one right here. No, is it 15? It may be 12. Dang, it's around here. It's either this one, it might be this one or this one. Now, the thing that I'm excited about is one, being able to kind of just get my feet wet with a gas generator. I think that's going to be interesting. I tried to get them to send me this one. And they were like, yeah, because it looks more like what I'm used to a inverter looking like. I'm used to these looking like kind of open frames like this one up here. So I wasn't like crazy about the styling of it, but you know, who cares about the styling, right? If you got to put gas in it and produce power. It is an inverter generator, so I think that's cool. I haven't tested it out yet. I'll probably do a vlog style video about trying to use it for the first time because I am not a gas person. So I'm going to have to try and find ethanol-free gas. I'll probably have to get some oil. Gas combustion engines are not my thing at all. That's why I never wanted to buy a gas lawnmower again after the one that somebody gave me. A guy from my church gave us a lawnmower. I bought a corded lawnmower after that because I don't want to deal with like spark plugs and gas and smoke and all that jazz. It's not my strong suit. But that's going to be interesting. I'm going to be messing around with that as soon as like the sun kind of comes out, and I'll be going down this journey of using a gas generator for the first time. Gas being stinky and storing it and all that jazz. I'll have to get another gas container. So it's going to be a journey. But they sent me that and their power station, which is cool. I also kind of like the price. I'm not sure if it's necessarily affordable, but when we start to talk about price for things, it's really like the barrier of entry that we talk about, which is why gas generators are kind of like cool for some people, because you can get a certain amount of performance and output out of a gas generator as long as you can have access to gas for a relatively low price. So the cost, the barrier of entry for gas generators is really interesting. So it's cool stuff. Let's see here. I've also been dealing with this idea of, okay, my headphones died, so I gotta go. That's funny. Man, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. I wanted to talk about fan noise with my power stations because, man, I remember when I had the EcoFlow base model, its fan started out pretty loud, but they quickly released a firmware update to quiet the fans down. So you have a setting in the app to tell it to not, or to auto or something, but then that kind of quieted the EcoFlow down. A lot of people were giving folks grief for having an issue with the fan noise. I get it. Look, man, you don't want a little computer jet near you blaring and stuff like that. But that's what I have with the EcoFlow River 2. The fan is loud. It is harsh. But what I was trying to go back to is this idea that, man, when I first got that EcoFlow, and then I bought the EB70. The EB70, once it gets over 100 watts of solar, either in or out, its fan turns on. And I was like, man, I cannot put that in my zone 1 to power that area because the fan is always going to come on because I have a 200 watt panel on it. So on most sunny days, it's getting like 145, 150, 135. So, but man, I tell you, after dealing with this EcoFlow fan, I was listening to my EB70 because sometimes I use it to power dump into my EcoFlow River because that powers my internet. But that fan is just so discouraging, man. Once you start putting, what I found is once you get more than about 45 watts into it, the fan's going off. So what I tried to do is I tried to use the EB120 to charge it because the EB120 has a 45 watt PD port on it. And I also have a 45 watt 12 volt adapter. This is not it. I use that typically to dump power into it because I just want it to be quiet. I want it to shut up. And the fan still does come on after the 45 watts. There's literally no rhyme or reason to when that fan comes on. It may be temperature related, but I don't think so. I mean, it's winter here. We don't run a super hot house. I've looked at the temperature multiple times and it hasn't been anything that should be cause for alarm as far as the fan running. But it's just funny to me to think about how I didn't want that EB70. And that EB70 fan is so like smooth. Like comparatively, geez, I don't like it. I don't like the EcoFlow River 2 fan. It's just not a good look. And there's some other power stations that I never wanted to put there because of their fans, like the EB3A, not the EB3A. The EB3A's fan is all right. It just does that little ramp up stuff. I think it's all right. I've never really paid close attention to it as it relates to my zone 1, which is my TV zone where we watch TV and have the internet. The P320, the Energizer P320, that's not a good contender for zone 1 because it cannot take in a good amount of solar. So what I used it kind of in tandem. So the EcoFlow River OG one would power dump into the Energizer because it has a 100 watt bi-directional port, and then I would have my internet on that. The problem with that is only 300 watt hours, so the internet only lasts for about 10 hours. The interesting thing about that, just to give you some info about the EcoFlow joint, you know that inverter is not very efficient. I was disappointed in EcoFlow with that because they talked about pairing the inverter more with the watt hour capacity to make it more efficient, but it still only gets about 75% efficiency. So that was kind of like a whereas like the OG EcoFlow, 200 some odd watt hours, 600 watt inverter. And that was common logic that people would say, well, it's a 600 watt inverter paired with a 300 watt hour capacity battery. It's going to be more inefficient, but that proves to be untrue in their latest device. It's still inefficient on the AC. So what are you going to do? So I don't, as it relates to the EB70, the EB70 is now one of the power stations that I typically throw out on my two Renogy 100, Renogy, I always say Renogy, Rockpals 100 watt panels. I have one that was given to me from Rockpals themselves. That's my smaller ETFE. It's a 100 watt panel quad fold. And then I have that like newer looking one that's PET, but it's 110. I have those in parallel because I live the thug life. I don't care. I put them in parallel to give me 200 watts. I actually saw a 200 watt Rockpals that was on this little bidding site that I frequent. I'll talk about that in a second. What's up, Dennis? I'll read your comment in a second. And I thought about getting a 200 watt for the same reason why I bought that Blue Eddy 200 watt panel from the lady. It was brand new, but you know, it's open. It didn't work. She gave me my money back. You know, happy ending. I still have the panel down there. Some people have asked about getting it if I was interested in giving it away, and I probably will do that. Just let them pay shipping, maybe like a couple dollars, just to make it a little bit of an exchange. I don't know, because I'm not going to open that thing up. The reason why I'm holding on to it is because, man, it's still a 200 watt solar panel array. So in my mind, I've been thinking about this idea, like, what could I do with that if it's just like, maybe it's one of the cables on one of the panels is bad and the other three panels are good. That's 150 watts right there. Just got it for free. But I probably will give it away. I probably will. So I was thinking about that Rockpals 200. It was PET, so I changed my mind. I'm not going to buy a PET panel because I have. It's okay to buy a PET panel if you're going to like use it sparingly for like, you know, camping, whatever. Power is power. They're typically cheaper. But there's no reason for me as a YouTuber who has all of these folding panels. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I may have a little few more. I have 4 panels. There's no reason for me to spend money on something that won't give me as much longevity as possible. I have enough panels to not be spending coins. So I opted against that, even though the logic behind me buying the Bluetti SP200 and considering buying the Rock Pals 200-watt panel was that it would be a more easily deployed folding panel. Right now, like I said, my EB70 is one that I typically put out in the yard. I put it in my garbage can, typically, and it uses that 200 watts, gives it about 100 because I don't angle them or anything. I just lay them flat. Uh, I don't want to buy or spend money to more easily, but I thought about it. But because it's not ETFE, I was like, nah, that's not worth it. I have bid on, there's this bidding site that's local to me. Um, it's actually in the area. It covers quite a few locales. I have tried twice to get some 550-watt panels from Renogy, but we talked about the math earlier. I want to stick to around like 60-50 cents. And plus they charge a little bit of a percentage fee. And I don't need those panels all like that. So I'm not going to pay 80 cents, 70 cents, approaching like high 60 cents for those panels because they are open box. They're not necessarily new. I will have to test them, and I feel like it's just not worth the risk when I could kind of wait for Santan Solar to get what I actually absolutely need. And they're like a legit company that if I have a problem, I'll have like at least a 1-year warranty and maybe even the manufacturer's warranty if because some of the panels don't have like warranties from the manufacturer anymore. I imagine it's the used ones. What's up, Warren? What's happening? What's up? I've added my Ego batteries into my power dumping routine. Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, tell me more about that. So, I have bid on a couple 550-watt joints. Renogy typically they cost $1 a watt, which is ridiculous. I'm trying to get them for around 60 cents a watt, but these people who want these Renogy panels, I mean, if you set out to pay $1 per watt, you're probably okay with spending $700-800 getting $300 off. Me, I'm not. I need 50 cents a watt or close to 50 cents a watt, especially when you deal with the reality that larger panels typically are about 50 cents a watt. You take into account shipping, they typically jump up to about 60, 2 cents a watt as we did the math. I had seen a couple Boujarvie 9BB panels over there that I bid on. But again, I won't pay more than 50 cents a watt because, again, I get panels from these companies for free sometimes. I have 2 panels from Boujarvie that they sent me. I'm not saying that they would send me any more. I actually did reach out to them because I want to test out one of their fridges. I have an idea for a video that I think would be pretty cool for the solar community, but they never got back to me. I'll probably have to email them again at some point. And the reason why I'm looking into those 190, 180, 9BB, 5BB, watch this water over here. What are you trying to do, young man?
I want to see.
What you want to see yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
Emma.
Want to say hi?
Hi.
The reason why I've been entertaining looking at those is because I was thinking about, I think I did it in a short recently, turning my 300-watt array, which powers this Ace Volt, which is right down here. I thought about turning that into a 400-watt array with 2 200-watt panels. And I was going to take a panel from my AC200P array because it gets a good bit of power for that watt-hour capacity. You're just going to have a good time back there. People are saying hello to you. But if I could get another panel for like $100, I'd do that. But that's the most I'm gonna spend for it. I'm not going over 50 cents a watt. And these people who I bid against, they just want to save some coin. Or I want to save a lot of coin. I want to save half the coin. So I'm not gonna pay. Plus, I'm okay with used panels as well. And you can get used panels relatively cheap. Like I have seen a guy selling some 250s. He sold them. I was shocked that he sold them so fast. He had some 250s that you could get for $100. Actually, he was selling them for a little more than that, but I wasn't gonna pay that. I would probably pay like 75 or something like that. I may have done $100 for like two, but if I bought all six of them, I would probably try to go like $75, $80 a panel, which would get me in, I believe, like 38 cents or the 28 cents a watt from those panels because we did some math earlier. So, but I'm trying to, man, I'm really trying to simplify my stuff around here. I really want to be able to do that. And then that's going to make it better for me in terms of like how I position my panels, what kind of power I have coming in. If there's a situation where it would be better to not have any panels on the back porch, like running a wire to a 400-watt panel, that would make it kind of worth it to me. Running a wire and extending it for 200 watts, I don't know if I want to deal with all of that because then I have all my panels that go into all of my garage power. So to pull a panel off of here to only add more panels with four 100 watts, four 200 watts, one 320, one all powers 200, that takes up a lot of space. Yeah, two 100-watt flexible panels that lay flat and take up a lot of space. I'm really trying to minimize my footprint and my solar situation. Thank you. Let's see. Charge them during the day when I have access power, dumping them at night. Bang, there you go. Pretty much. How do you feel about cycling them? I don't know I think the battery chemistry on those are interesting. Do you feel like the cost per whatever? I know they live at a high voltage, like 52 volts times like 2.5 or 4.5. So like 200 amp hour batteries. Yeah, 100 amp hour batteries. What's up, Kevin? How you feel about cycling? Cycling. What's up, Beats? I'm chilling, man. Good to see you. How you been, man? Hopefully life is treating you kindly. If it's not, hopefully it's not being too rough. Oh, Radiant Jasmine won the Rock Palace from the last live stream. I don't know what device I'm gonna give out next. A company is supposed to be sending me a device. They seem kind of sketchy on it, so I'm not sure if they actually gonna send it. I'm not sure how long it's gonna take, but it's supposed to be. Maybe I'll just show you. It's supposed to be a 1200-watt. Dude, dang, who is it? Oh, Foxtion. I don't think they have their stuff on their site yet. They did send me some documentation. So let me see if I can pull that up really quickly. And while I do that, is it in here? I don't think it's in here. Let me see if I can find it so I can show you. It's a very basic looking power station. But again, I'm not picky on power station, especially we start to get into emotions. We'll get into like what area and how much solar I can put into it. What's the fan noise like? Um, what kind of capability does it have? Oh, maybe they logged me out here. Let's see. So it's like, how is it going to add to my overall situation? Not what it looks like. Because, you could have your EB70s, your Eco4 River 2 Maxes, your AC200Ps from the main big boys. But then your supplementary situations could be absolutely different. They could be affordable. It's a LiPo power station. The reason why I was saying they were kind of hesitant is because I asked for their biggest one, which is 1200 watt hours. I still have a relatively small channel. So sometimes companies are a little apprehensive about that. Where are these attachments at? Let's see if this is it. Here we go. What I actually should have done is, let me see. It's called the iGo 1200. Let me see if I can take just a screenshot of this real quick and then throw it up on the joint, the screen share.
I guess I'll get my hands dirty. So I have to wash on.
Okay, that'll work.
Wash all your hands. Now I can tell you that.
One thing I do like about its design is it's taller than most power stations. I think that that's different and that's intriguing to me. Like I'm into this thing where it's like stuff has different type of appeals for me. Like the Renogy, I talked about this in one of my videos. The Renogy solar panel is like taller and skinnier, and I like that. That's why I originally got into Renogys, especially because they were on sale at the time. I liked my HQSDs because they were squarer, so they fit in a better footprint, so they weren't as long. I bought like the new HQSD that I have now because it was a little bit smaller than the HQSDs I had before. And I like that. New Power has a very compact panel that they have out now. I'm not into 100 watt panels anymore, but I like different sizes and form factors. I love options. That's why, just to make it plain, this is one of my phone spreads. Let me see if I got. That's my Samsung Fan Edition. That's my iPhone 7, and I even have an iPhone SE. Now, the interesting thing about this iPhone SE is I got it from Metro by T-Mobile on a deal when this thing cost about $400 or $500. I got it for about $250 on a port-in deal. I love small phones because I don't always want to have this foolishness to my face. I like sometimes to have something like this to my face. I love options. That's the only point I'm trying to make. Even when I'm into tablets and computers, I would like to have a 17-inch computer where I sit and I have a whole lot of screen real estate, but it's not my portable machine. And then I would also like to have something that's kind of like 15 inches. This is my HP Spectre. Little small, lightweight computer, very capable. I got a really good deal on this. I bought it brand new. It wasn't something I bought from the marketplace. And then I have something where I did get this one used. This is my little Android Chromebook. It's a detachable dip, which is cool to me because I like options. I love options. I say all that to say, this particular dip right here, let's look at this form factor. Now imagine this. I can't get much closer than that. I'll try. Let's see. Maybe I'll just save it to my desktop. All right, let's close that, and then we'll open the actual file so I can zoom in a bit. Un momento, por favor. All right. Let's maximize. Let's get some zoom. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that my EcoFlow River 500 watt hours sits in my zone 1. It's on top of a little stool, but it's a wider power station. I would love that this thing has 1200 watt hours, can take in up to 200 watts of solar, has a 1200, I'm sorry, it's not 1200 watt hours. It's 1000 watt hours, 994 to be specific. It has a 1200 watt inverter. What this means for me is having a situation where the form factor is taller and narrower, so it can fit over in that cubby a lot better than any wider or bigger power station. It has double the capacity of my EcoFlow, has similar solar input capacities. It is LiFePO. The screen is a little like, well, it's not the craziest screen, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Does it help me out in fulfilling the need that I have over in that zone? And I like this. I think that it's different. I wonder if it has a wireless charger on the top. My EcoFlow River does not have a wireless charger on the top. None of them do, even though they have the space for it. I like options. That would be a good option in the area. Another reason why I like it is it's double the watt hour capacity. So that means if it's running solely my internet on the EcoFlow runs for about 13 hours, I think, when it's full, maybe 15 when it's full. Other 500 watt hour power stations, because their inverters are more efficient, I typically get about 20 hours from them, maybe 22 when they're absolutely full. So the EcoFlow is not doing great as it relates to efficiency, which is another reason why I feel like, you know what I mean? I was looking forward to it being more efficient, but it is not. And then if you think back to my regular EcoFlow Max, which I had to return the battery to EcoFlow because it was giving me half that output. So even though I had 500 watt hours of capacity or whatever, 280 plus 280 is, what I was dealing with was I still was only getting about half that watt hour capacity, even though I was dumping in 500 watt hours into it every day via solar. So I would double up my ability to run the internet in that zone, which would be dope. I wouldn't really have to worry about anything. It could last long enough to go get fully charged from the sun, because a 200 watt panel, as long as you have it angled decently, is typically going to produce about 1,000 watt hours of power. So that would be perfect in that zone. That's how I think about power stations in terms of how it would fit into my lifestyle, um, and maybe useful for you guys. So that's the Foxgeon that they may or may not send me. They say they were shipping. They wanted to confirm my information. So maybe it'll come at some point. And I may not have talked about this before, but I've really gotten into being more appreciative of lithium ion power stations, because a lot of them, one, are starting to have the 800 cycles, which is, that's respectable in the grand scheme of things. 800 cycles to 80%. They are lighter, and they're more tolerant of temperatures by 10 degrees. So, whereas typically I don't put out a lot of my LiPo power stations, because my temperatures typically sit around 32 degrees, which is 0 degrees Celsius, I believe. Um, so I can't put out a lot of those power stations when it's around that. They need to be 10 degrees Celsius. Uh, but my lithium ion power stations, my EcoFlow, my Bullbat, my this joint right here, the Power Smart, um, I can put them out at around freezing temperatures, and they're fine. They're fine. And we've also talked about temperature and the capacity of the internal components of the device need to get cold enough to cause a problem. So you shouldn't risk that. I have multiple power stations. I kind of play around a little bit. So if it's like 8 degrees Celsius and I know I need 10 degrees, I don't really mess around with that too much. But you could, because if you take a power station that's warm enough in the house, bring it out into the cold where it needs 10 degrees, um, it'll take a good while for that power station to get cold enough to drop to 10 degrees. I may have even done a video on this. My EcoFlow, I will bring it outside, and let's say it was floating at, let's just call it 21 degrees Celsius for the sake of the conversation. It was probably like 10 degrees Celsius outside. And it took till it got dark for like a while for it to even drop to maybe like 14. So it was no longer charging. So ultimately, what I'm saying here is, if you bring something warm outside, it's going to take a while for it to be cold. And if you live around the temperature that that power station typically needs, then you're pretty much fine. Again, I don't think the regular layperson should try that, but I've been messing around with that idea, and I think ultimately you're fine. I mean, let's say it was at 20 degrees on the device itself. It was probably about 18 degrees Celsius outside. Um, and it started to drop, but it would still stay at 20. So it's like 17 degrees, 16 degrees, still at 20. It had to drop down to about like 8 degrees, 7 degrees for that thing to even start to drop down. And it's lithium ion, so it's cool till zero. So I've just been kind of trying to inform my opinion about, okay, what is actually dangerous to these power stations as it relates to temperature. And again, like I said before, now if you leave it out in the cold all night, then no, you should not go out there and plug that dip in, because you could probably mess up those batteries. But if it's a warm device going out into the cold, around about the threshold for that power station anyway, then it should be relatively fine. And then as it relates to cold, if it's charging or powering something anyway, then those components will be warm because they're actually being used. And, heat is produced where we're converting DC to AC and all of that jazz. All right. Let's see. I like the SE2. Nice. Yeah, it's a cool little phone. Oh, I was freezing up. Hey, man, dang, that sucks. Yep, happening on mine. Also, the small amount of cycles used in the yard only in the summer is probably more detrimental. I figure using this way gets my money worth. That's true. I dig that. Or at least I understand that logic. Oh, nice. More likes than the number of people watching. That's what's up. Say word. Are you moving to EcoFlow from Buetti? I've thought about it. Interested in viewpoints. No, I'm not an either or guy. I've kind of never been that way. I'm an and. So I like EcoFlow and Buetti. For the longest time, that's why I had the EcoFlow River and I had the EB70. Um, I would like to have the EcoFlow River base model, even though that device looks a little questionable to me, and the EB3A. So I'm not an either or. I think Buetti needs to step up the customer service, but I have had a problem or two with a power station. Actually, my EB3A is interesting. Sometimes I don't charge it very much from the wall, but it'll get up to 83% or something, and then it'll stop charging. And the reality of the situation after I kind of mess around with it a bit is at some point it'll just show 100. Now, that's not all the time. I haven't tested it or messed with it enough to really care. Because again, a lot of these power stations for me, especially something as capable as it is on the solar, but not the watt hour capacity, it's all about power dumping for me. So I don't really care about its capacity. Sure, EB3A being full at the end of the night is great, but I don't play around with that because I don't want to run the risk, because it's so capable of solar. I don't want to run the risk of it being full just sitting there. So I'm always power dumping. The same thing with my base model EcoFlow River, my OG one. I'm always power dumping. Any power station that can get up to 200 watts of solar and only has a 300 watt hour capacity, I power dump. That's what it's there for. It's not there to hold stuff. So so the EB3A does that. I had the issue with the EB120 where the battery pack in it was loose, but we exchanged that one up. That was one I purchased from them as a YouTuber. Bluetti has never been kind to me in terms of like sending me a device. All my Bluetti stuff that I have paid for in some capacity or another. Um, yeah, just for simplification of things, I'll keep it at that. The EB3A, the EB70, the EB120, those are all kind of like money was exchanged with them in some capacity or another. I think I bought the EB3A outright. One of my viewers may have helped with that one, or told me they were going to help. They may not have helped with that one. So I'm not an either or guy. I've never been. I keep Apple around, even though I'm an Android guy. I still keep Apple around because I like to be a part of that ecosystem to have access. And I started out as an iPod dude because they were the first to market with a mass storage device that could store all of those songs. Before that, it was like Santa and stuff like that. Only had megabytes of storage. I feel like a lot of you guys are old enough to remember that stuff, even if you weren't into tech. So because my library was typically Apple sourced in terms of how I stored my music, um, I just went from an iPod to an iPod Touch. And then because I was already into that ecosystem, I was kind of into iPhones. Not new. I don't think I've ever bought an iPhone at the real price, but I've kept that stuff around because I may have gotten something used or for a deal or whatever. So I say all that to say both. Um, and with EcoFlow going to Lifeboat now, I mean, if you're into EcoFlow, then just rock with EcoFlow. But I think that I like that AC300 more than I like the Delta Pro. I like the Delta Pro so much for that Kickstarter price. That dip was $2,000. It was 1999 when it first came out. If I had that money, if I was considering buying something for that much money, I would have bought that one for sure, hands down. But right now, I like the AC300 more than the EcoFlow Delta Pro because the AC300 has the two MPPT charge controllers. And it's very ideal for me having so many arrays around here. I could consolidate at least two of those arrays into one device. My goal is to ultimately have something like that into a power switch where that solar coming in, I don't need to store it. I could just use it and also kind of store it. And then if I want to I could just disconnect that from one array from the AC300. Let's say it's getting full, and just drop something like that right into the Alcatel, the AC200P, the Ace Volt, the Duran Eno. So I like to have those kind of options. Let's see. Jackery, how I kind of frame the conversation when, EcoFlow, Blue Eddy, and Jackery were the big three. Jackery is, uh, Blue Eddy was like the in between, the best of both of them. EcoFlow is kind of like pushing us technology wise. Blue Eddy is kind of like a little bit behind them. They move a little slower, what I mean, whatever. And then Jackery is just not pushing the envelope at all. So that's kind of like how I rank those companies. So, yeah, both are fine. Mm. Got it. I have the EV3A with the app, no Wi-Fi, so it's limited. That is true. The Bluetooth is nice, but the Wi-Fi is cool too. The fact that the River 2 Max has both is really convenient. Everything has been happening during this live. Watch when it's over. It's going to be quiet and chill. I've been listening though. Oh man, it's good to have you hanging out, MJ. They are fine. I don't expect to have any issues with them. I was very concerned. Oh, look, the sun is out. Y'all, that's how it be, man. Real life, like man, sun. It's a good time. It's been snowing a little bit, like some flurries. But it's always good to see sun. Man, I'm happy just when it's bright. I actually saw a video from Minuteman Prep. He was showing that his 2800-watt array. What's the volume on, bud? What's the volume on, Ivan? Uh, what was I saying? Oh, Minuteman Prep. He had a 2800-watt array, and on a bright day, he was getting 30% output, which is cool. I've never thought about my output in terms of percentages. I just baseline myself as like, if it's an overcast day, it's not as bright, I get 10%. If it's brighter, I get more, and I'm happy. I've never thought about what the percentage is. So he was getting like 1,000 watts from a 3,000 array, which makes sense, kinda, because 10% is 300, 30% is 9. So he's getting about 900 some odd watts, and that's really nice. So to have the sun come out for a little bit, I'll take it. But as long as it's a bright solar day, I'm good. I can get about 80 some odd watts from my 800-watt array. And it's not really an 800-watt array, so I don't get 80 watts all the time. And I mean, if it's just overcast. If it's bright, I get a little bit more. If it's overcast, I usually get about 75 watts. The reason why that is nice for me is because I have a fridge down there that uses about 100 watts. So if push came to shove, that 800-watt array for the most part will be able to run that as long as I have some reserve in the battery. That's the kind of stuff I'm into in terms of preparedness and things like that. Remo, what's happening? Good to see you too. The EB3A and EB150 are good units. Yeah, the EB150 and the EB240. SetType was actually in a position to get an EB240 for like $500, and I was like, man, that's a good look. I don't be having this coin to spend like that, but I was intrigued by that because you could get two. I was going somewhere. You could get two about 2.5 kilowatt hours for about $600, and that's just batteries. So to be able to get 2.4, that was at 1,000, I think maybe 1,500 cycles. It's not LiFePO, but to get that and the inverter and the solar MPPT charge controller and a nice little polished package for $500-600, I was like, man, that's intriguing. Now, excuse me, as it relates to the Dr. Prepare, one thing that concerned me, Projects in Paradise 808 is a channel that I like watching. It's not my favorite because the dude is so slow and so chill. So I have to 2x him. But I do like that his channel is about kind of like real life with solar too. He's more so on the DIY end of things. But he had a friend that had a Battleborn battery fail, and the cells kind of like did their reaction thing. It wasn't necessarily a fire type of situation. I don't know necessarily what it was, but it wasn't like lithium ion where it was combustible. But he did have a battery kind of fail, and he used catastrophic failure like good 15 times. I don't drink, but talk about the drinking game when he said that. Like, man, he said that a lot. It's like catastrophic failure quite a few times. I'm not opposed to drinking, by the way. I just don't. So my Dr. Repairs are fine, but stuff happens, and I got 3 of those batteries down there. So something to think about. Something to always think about. I know this is off topic. Did you and the family go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras? I don't think I would ever take my family down to the NO for Mardi Gras. I'm from New Orleans. Um, ah, I'm an introvert. My family, they didn't necessarily understand introversion, so they called me antisocial pretty much my whole life. I'm not a big gathering kind of guy. Way back in the gap, we used to have like a little parade situation that would happen between Orleans Parish and St. Bernard Parish, near the Jackson Barracks and all that jazz. We used to do that as a family. I know there are certain family friendlier spots, at least historically there were. But that the in crowd would like to be like under the bridge and all that jazz. Um, it's like, man, somebody's always getting shot down there. It's just I don't think it's a fam. Mardi Gras to me is not necessarily being from the city. My view could be skewed. It's not necessarily a family type of thing. And maybe that's just like, I don't mean to make light of PTSD. That's not what I'm trying to do there. But it's like, just having that experience, something always being going on with the news. I don't think I would ever take them down. Now, if they did something like that again, where, like St. Bernard Parish, Orleans Parish, something local to across the canal, which is where I'm from, the lower Ninth Ward, or I don't know if I want to be in Metairie for something like that, because I'm just, yeah, I rock with my. I'm not even gonna go there. I was thinking about Metairie, but we call it one of my childhood friends. He called Metairie God's country. Um, yeah. Anyway, um, So no, it's not. It's not. That's not something that catches my eye. And also, I don't want to be there when all those tourists are there either. Uh, Having lived there for so long, um, I wouldn't want to. I just feel like people are just in the way. I just want to live my regular life, and people are down at a party and drink and all that jazz. And it's more people than usual trying to party and drink. So it's definitely not my scene. What's up, Armand Allen? Good to see you, sir. Um, I'm going to leave a comment after the live about using an oxygen concentrator on solar during a grid down situation. I was shocked on how much solar is needed. Oh man, I'd be interested in that. That's really interesting. Um, you still have an iPod? Yeah, I have one too around here. I think it's like the iPod video. My OG iPod, I don't think I have it anymore with the buttons and all of that. I got a couple iPods. My kids still use that iPod Touch that we have. They use it to listen to the Bible experience at night and whenever we listen to it. And I'm thinking about taking, because I have two of these iPhone SEs. My wife, I got one for her with the Metro by T-Mobile deal. So she doesn't use it. She's not an iPhone person at all. But I'm thinking about switching out their iPod for one of these. I have to try and keep these things charged. I don't want to leave them around too long without being charged because that can damage the battery. But yeah. Yep, that's a good price for the 240. Still a small inverter. Yeah, 1,000 watts. But it's a 1,000 watt inverter for $600. You know what I mean? Yeah, that Aloha guy. I have to 2x that stuff. I cannot watch it at normal speed. I can't. I cannot. But I like some aspects of his channel. The real life stuff. What's up, Steve? We're still in the middle of winter up here. How long can I store my solar generators charged up to 100% before they experience degradation? I like to be ready for a power outage. What that really comes down to, Steve, is just use your power stations every now and then. So you ask the question, how long can you store them? I don't want to go general. I feel like just follow your instruction guide. Go by what the manufacturer tells you. If you're really in a position where you want to, oh, well, no, they wouldn't answer that. They typically say to store it at a certain percentage. I wouldn't store it and I'm no expert, but I wouldn't store them at 100% more than like a month. Um, I would regularly pull it out and drop it down to about 20% and then charge it back up or something like that. But at the end of the day, this is what I believe. I could be wrong. I'm no engineer. I mean, you don't want to go 6 months without touching that thing. You don't really want to go 4 months without touching that thing. But even if you go 3 months and it degrades a bit, it depends on the chemistry. And I only mean it depends on the chemistry by the cycles. But my thing is like, man, use it for what you want to use it for. If you want to store it full for a couple months, then do it. I don't think degradation is going to hit you that hard to a point. But again, I am being clear that I do not know what I'm talking about. I have a non-researched opinion. I have this thing where I like to classify sometimes. Sometimes I have an informed opinion, a semi-informed opinion, or an uninformed opinion. This is a non-researched opinion. Um, yeah, but I feel you. You want to have your power stations be full. You don't want to have them sitting at 60%, 70%, and the power goes out. You just have to weigh it against reality. Like, how often do you have a situation? I would look at that. I would just keep tabs on the weather. You know what I mean? Store it at 60. Keep tabs on the weather. If you don't have rolling blackouts or blackouts often, then just kind of be mindful of your situation. If you got a storm system coming or uh, the weather is about to change or something like that, to just charge it up. But I feel like a month or two should be fine to keep it at full, or you could just do 90. You know what I mean? I'll buy you some time. But that's a good question. I'm sorry I don't have a more informed answer for that. I feel you that way also. I wouldn't take my kids' family to any large crowd place. Here, the taste bud Bilkin parade? Nope, can't. That's interesting. Can't do it because of safety reasons. Yeah, we have 4 kids, so that's quite a bit to manage if something popped off, right? I made it home from Mardi Gras this year. It was only one incident that happened on St. Charles. I'm from Uptown 17 War Carrollton area. Yeah, my good friend that I was just talking about, we was talking about calling Metairie God's country. He grew up in Carrollton. A funny little moment of levity. He had a different kind of style. Uh, he was saying jokingly, he was walking somewhere. He would wear like, kind of fitted pants, and like a button-up shirt. He had his button-up shirt tucked in. He maybe having some what's the R shoes, Rockports, something like that. And it was like he heard some kids over say, "Was like, where is Ninja from? From Metairie?" They ain't say Ninja. He's like, this Ninja must be from Metairie. So that's like a a funny moment for me, just in terms of like one of those like childhood memories that comes to mind. Um, yeah, I was never big on that stuff. I don't think I've ever been to the super fair um, as a kid. Maybe like once. I was always hear stuff about people fighting and stuff like that, and I ain't no scrapper. You know what I mean? You can get busy if you have to, but that wasn't my lane. I was out here just fighting all the time, so I didn't want to be up there. Somebody asks you where you from, and then you end up getting jumped by some dudes from like the Calliope or something like that, the Calliope. So yeah, no, I'm not seeing it. Being older now, I'm sure it is different. Things settle down as you get older. We really have an issue in this country with how young people behave. That's really the problem. As people get older, everybody typically settles down. That's good to hear that you made it home, man. I actually have a guy up here who's from the that I got acquainted with through my wife, and he actually cooks like authentic food. I actually have some gumbo in the freezer. I need to ask my wife to make me some rice so I can start getting into that. I bought like a few bags from him. He like sells the cuisine and all that jazz. So I'm appreciative of that. I haven't had a hot sausage sandwich in so long, man. I miss food. That's for sure. Okay, thanks. I just would like to be ready for whatever comes along. Yeah, I get it. I understand 100%. I'm so like milk my power stations kind of situation. I have to make myself charge them up from the wall to get them full. And I don't want to be caught down bad. But as I get more and stuff like that, I kind of just settle into like right now, my EcoFlow River. I have it on a Wi-Fi switch. I need to make a video about that. And I charge it up all the time. And in the grand scheme of things, and I talked about this before, I just had to come to terms with the fact that you fill that stuff up, it's only 500 watt hours, 1,000 watt hours, 2,000 watt hours. In the grand scheme of things, you dump that power, because I hate charging power stations from the wall, but you throw 2 kilowatts into your power station so you can feel a little more secure. Even if your power is like 20 cents a kilowatt, that's half a dollar for a little security and stuff like that. But I get into the routine of like being as efficient, as recoup minded of getting my funds back, at like really like, you know, not using electricity when I can, but for the sake of uh, having power, if the power were to go out, it's like I spend the 40 cents to charge up a couple power stations, spend $1 to charge up a couple power stations. It's not a big deal. You need to relax. Do you or anyone know how to dispose of old GZ400 lithium? Mine has a bad inverter and it has old chemistry. I can still run a DC side, but the AC is a short hazard. I'm uneasy with it. Yeah, you just got to look into, you got to research whatever municipality you're in. They typically, I'd assume they typically do things in some capacity, like annually or semi-annually, where you could get rid of these batteries and stuff like that. That's true. You could try and give it away or sell it at a very reduced price. It's out of warranty, and GZ will not share a replacement inverter. That's interesting. Let me see here. What we got? Did we cover everything here? Oh, I wanted to give a camera update. I had mentioned on a live stream a couple times ago that anytime you guys, I'm trying to update my camera. So super chats, cash apps, anytime you guys say thanks for coins, I appreciate it greatly. But what I'm doing with any of that now is I'm putting it towards updating my camera. I want to upgrade my camera. step my video quality up just a bit. I came super close to getting a Canon M50 Mark II from this guy. He had it selling really inexpensively, but he was either like, and I mean this as kindly as possible because I'm in Western PA. He was either not the sharpest knife in the drawer, or he really didn't want to talk to me. And I'm not one of those super like racially sensitive people. But I wondered if he just didn't want to talk to me because I was black. Um, but he ended up responding at some point, and I had asked him like a follow up question or two. It was for a really good price. It was probably like $300, $400. Um, but he ended up selling it. And I didn't feel super easy about it. It wasn't as far outside of my area um, as I would attribute something like that to. But I mean, you just got to be careful, man. Groupthink is a real thing. I feel like people in the city think a certain way and people outside of the city think a certain way. You can't help, you can help it, but sometimes that stuff is imparted into you. So I was just like, I don't know. I don't know, dude got a little hostility or what, but he eventually came around to answer. I asked him like 3 questions, and he only answered like one of them, which is not uncommon. A lot of people often answer the last thing that you say, but to me, someone who wants to get rid of a device, I would be as eager to answer and provide whatever they were asking for. So that was my thought. But I say all that to say, I appreciate you guys, your kindness, those who support the channel on Patreon, those who support the channel with like super thanks and Cash App and things like that. Every now and then I'll talk to somebody and they'll say thanks with coins. That's where that phrase came from. Um, I'm trying to update my camera situation to get my quality a little bit better. And I almost got a camera. I'm looking at the Canon M50 Mark II. They typically cost about, there's been like a shortage due to like, the action and all that, so camera prices kind of went up, and I don't know, they're starting to get normal now. So you could see some people where that camera like new was like $700, and you see people trying to sell them for $700 over $500. And y'all know, like I said earlier, I kind of start at the halfway point. So if it was new 700, I'm immediately going to 350, and we could kind of like deal from there. But the M50 Mark II, it's a Canon camera, so it has good colors, but the camera is very limited in terms of, it's tough to say, man. The camera industry is really not innovating, and they kind of are piecemealing features in the under $1,000 market, or like the $700-800 market, and there's really not a good quality like $800 to $1,200 market. You got to jump up to like $1,500, $1,600, $2,000 to really get something that has something that you would be happy with. But who wants to spend that much money on a camera? Like, and to add insult to injury, a lot of these cameras, they kind of put these video centric features in them because people have gotten accustomed to using photo centric kind of cameras for video. And camcorders are not really a thing anymore, but camcorders typically are better for video than using a photo camera to take good video. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a really interesting kind of situation to be in. And like I said before, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money on a device that's not giving me, I feel like, features that based on my research should probably be in it. So my baseline here is around $800, because that's kind of where this stuff lives. Like the Canon Z30 is like maybe $799 with a kit lens. The Canon M50, the M50 Mark II has been out for a while, and they still be trying to charge like $699 and stuff. And I'm just not into that, man. Like you bugging. So that's kind of like why I always look into the used market. So I've seen some for like $500, $450. And I try to make sense of it in a way where it's like, okay, well, if it's 500, maybe I could do like 250 from solar and 250 from personal, because we'll use it personally. We have a family vlog channel. We do like live streams and stuff over there now, and we want to get back to shooting videos. So I kind of try to make it make sense that way. But yeah, it's a lot of coin. Okay. By the way, I enjoyed your induction cooktop experiment. I appreciate that. Great videos and help to others. Yeah, JC was just telling me he shared my video on a Reddit post where somebody was looking for an induction cooktop. So I appreciate him for that. His channel is JCDIY, JAYCEE DIY. Me and him have been kind of chatting a little bit here and there. But thank you for that, Kevin. I appreciate it. Have you looked at mirrorless cameras? Yeah, I have. I have the Olympus EM series, small form factor, and price. Here's the thing about me, Kevin. Me and you, Kevin. I don't. You may have picked up on this, but I'm very picky. I'm extremely picky, especially as it relates to my money. Um, so I can't get just anything. Whereas, like a lot of people, and this is no nothing to nobody. A lot of people, I'm also a techie. I'm a technology guy. I'm heavy into that. I'm hard into research. I'm hard into getting like the best value for my money spent. Um, I can't just get anything. And there's a lot of things that will be, a lot of people will be happy with that I wouldn't be happy with. So I'm going to research the heck out of the thing. I'm going to look at the features that it has for the cost. I'm going to weigh like what it looks like compared to everything else. And I really like to get the most bang for my buck. So, um, and then I value certain features over others and so on and so forth. Olympus being something that I don't hear a whole lot of YouTubers use. I don't typically lean that way. And it's like, man, it's tough for me to just be happy. Like some people will get stuff and they'll just be happy with it. And I'm not that cat. So it's hard for me to find something that I'm really into, which lends itself very well to making YouTube videos because I'm picky. I'm extremely picky. Like the Canon M50 Mark One, the difference between it and the Mark II, the M50 first one was $699. Don't quote me on that. But the Mark II was maybe like $749. And the only features that they put in the Mark II is it has a clean HDMI output. What that means is when you hook it up to an HDMI connector or whatever, whether that's using that for streaming or putting it on your TV, it won't show like the what are those numbers? I can't imagine. I'm drawing a blank on that. The aperture and all of that stuff you see on a camera screen when you look at it, it'll just show video only. So it has clean HDMI, and I think it has a slightly, marginally better processor in it, and that's really it. And that's their second version of the camera. What am I supposed to do with that? A whole 2 years later, I don't know if it's 2 years, but a whole year, 2 years later, that's all you did, and you're gonna charge me an extra $50? That's disrespectful to me. That's like EcoFlow, having the EcoFlow River 2, right? And then and then the next one they add like wireless charging to it, and maybe I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like that's disrespectful, man. Like, come on. Also, I've been thinking, I don't think anybody should buy EB70. I've been looking at the EB70. When the EB70 first came out, it was $499. And it goes on sale from time to time for like $519, $499, so on and so forth. That EB70 has been out for quite some time. They have the EB3A out there. The EB3A has a much better screen on it. They have the EB55 out there. That had its issues. It had its innovations, but it was a problematic device for me because it was weird. It was weirdly innovative. Not innovative. It was weirdly feature rich. It's an odd situation. It was oddly priced. And they still be pushing this EB70. I don't recommend anybody buy the EB70 right now. Now, that's me. You get the EV70, 700 watt hours of capacity, 166 watts of solar input because of the 8 amp input limit, two 100-watt PD ports, wireless charging. It's still a nice machine to grab for $500. Don't get me wrong. But again, that's how my brain works. It's like it's been out for 2 years and you're going to charge me $500 for it. And like you're probably going to be coming out with another one in the next year or so if they don't abandon the line completely. I don't know what Blue Eddy has planned for that dip. I don't know what they have planned for the next series of power stations, but I'm not going. That's the same. That's another reason why I had an issue with the AC200P. The AC200 Max, jumped up to the 100 watts of solar PD output. It had the 900 watts of solar. It had maybe it had two wireless pads, but the other one has two wireless pads. It had the increased voltage range. So the AC200P, super capable device. But when I was in a situation where I had to weigh, if I was going to spend money on an AC200P or AC200 Max in that time frame, maybe about a year ago, maybe a few months, I wouldn't have bought an AC200P because that's how my brain works. I'm very like value for my money oriented. And then the AC200 Max, the price for the Kickstarter, which is what I was considering, you guys may remember that. It was only like $100 more than the AC200P. So forever in my brain, the AC200P is $15.99, and then the AC200 Max was like $16.99, $17.99. I might as well spend that $200 to more future-proof myself than going backwards with a device that only has one 60-watt PD port, needs two panels in series, only does 700 watts of solar. You know what I mean? It's like the other one is better. So I weigh those things, and I can't see me recommending that anybody get an EV70 only because of that's my value system. Super capable device. You're still going to use it and enjoy it. It's a good look. I guess at $500, but I wouldn't buy one. I wouldn't. Now, if it was 350, $399, but 500, which was the launch price, nah. I'm not gonna pay $500 2 years later for a device that y'all probably anyway. I'm reiterating. She's around here. She may have gone back to sleep. She's been a little low energy lately. And like I said, she had a long night. I think we went to bed at like 4 o'clock or something like that. I'm an earlier riser than her, so a few hours of sleep is not a big deal for me. As I get older, it starts to impact me a little bit, but oh, I'm freezing again. And don't forget, now they are trying to sell and push the EV70S, and for more money, after adding 100 to and I don't believe that. I've talked about that many times. Hopefully my audio and video is coming through. I've talked about that a couple of times. This idea that the 70S is better, when it's my understanding that the EV70 has an 800 watt inverter, but it's supposed to be able to surge to something like 1200 watts or something like that, which is why I was intrigued by it. But after 800 watts, it turned off. And that was in my test for the EV70. So I don't think they really did anything, but that's just me. I haven't taken the time, nor do I actually have the device to test it. I don't even really care. But it's a whole interesting thing. Let's see. I hear you on Blue Eddy. They did a machine gun release of the AC200 and 300 series. If you said it, it must be true. I don't know what that means. It's the machine gun release. I think we're good, guys. I don't have a power station to give away this live. I need to get some joints in to kind of replace some of this stuff I have. I actually started using the smart list again because the summer sun is beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, get something to eat. Y'all be beautiful. Till next time. Yeah, maybe me and the missus will go live tomorrow. What'd you say? I'm getting off. Sharp May said hello. MJ said hello. Get on, come over, camera over here. Stay out of here. You put your hand in there. Get out of here.
Hey y'all.
Get out of here. Go. All right, y'all be beautiful. And I'm out. That's from He Needed Business.
Me?
Yes, sir.
So
Come on, let's go.
hold on, I need to ask Daddy
I need you to